Howdy, my fellow wood gas addicts. What you are looking at here is my newest little Charlek. It has all the attributes of a Dalek, even the suction cup. So Doctor Who will be happy. What I've been doing here is creating a charcoal gasifier out of a 40 litre air compressor tank. Down here we have a nozzle assembly that reaches halfway into the tank. It's a 1 inch diameter mild steel tube, just like this. It goes around about halfway into the charcoal fuel. I've adapted it to fit with one of these. Normally it would screw in like that, but I've got it the other way around, so it's a machined fit such that those two pieces become an assembly. So that's the outer part of it right there, which is screwed into this receptacle to allow me to replace the nozzle if and when it burns out. Today's little effort has been the construction of a Cyclone. It's quite heavy steel. The idea being to do the cycloning and also to separate, also to cool the gas. So gas takeoff is up here, gas injection is way down here, and the discharge port is an unscrewable cap. Talking of discharge ports, the Dalek has one too. That's a 2.5 inch one for dumping the used up charcoal, which should become white ash. There's a slightly bigger one at the top to put the charcoal in through. Make sure that's screwed up nice and tight. Here's some of the fuel for it. That's charcoal taken out of my wood gasifier. As you can probably see there are bits up to about 1/4 inch-ish, and then we got fine dust. It's a mixture that comes out of my gasifier at the moment. So that gets put in here. This is currently about 1/3 of the way full of charcoaline. Yes, I have indeed joined the CHARK side of the force. This is all situated on a little trolley that I've been building also. 4 wheels with bearings. At the front we have a go-kart steering arrangement. Nice and simple mechanism. The wheels track the handle that pulls the cart along. I use that method on pretty much everything I build. This trolley, which is my earth drill project currently underway, also uses that steering mechanism. The big gasifier, the standard gasifier that you've seen in operation before, has the same sort of thing, as does this, my homemade welding plant. This has a 6 kVA generator driving my 30-year-old arc welder that I took out of its box a few years ago and put into this cabinet that my CNC machine made for me. Lovingly handmade by my CNC mill. Right, going back to this, I want to set this up and see whether I can show an ignition taking place there. So blast that with a blowtorch while this little fan, or this little blower, is pulling the air through the system. Hopefully you'll see that ignite. This will be its first test with its new Cyclone. I've tested it before and had a lovely flame coming straight out of the gasifier. Over time though, if you pull on it hard enough, the gas will get quite hot. So that's why I've made this really heavy Cyclone. The idea being to take the heat out of it. The gas from that will eventually go back down into a pair of upright filters of the flash design. They'll be filled with pea stone. The idea being to extract heat and moisture from the gas. Bill's pea stone filters work like a charm. I've got a couple of them on my existing wood gasifier, and after a couple of hours of runtime they extract at least a cup of water from the gas stream. And what's cool is that the gas, or the water that comes out of them, is actually quite clear. Alright, what I'll do is pause the video here and get ready to set fire to my Charlek. Okay, I've put a little flare burner on the end of here. Inside this tube I've got stainless steel poly pads to eliminate the explosion potential, as if this was to go boom it would be like a little plastic grenade, and I think it would be very ouchy. I found that for some reason when the gasifier is still cold, the flare likes to burn in this better than it does just coming straight out of the tube. Alright, talking of lighting things, let's put some electricities into the blower. That's a 3-inch bilge blower there, probably underpowered for this. Let's set fire to it, eh? As you can see, that took hours and hours to take light. It's amazing really how volatile charcoal is. There's a lot of energy in it that in the past I was literally throwing that charcoal away because I didn't have a use for it. I had to stop throwing it away when I found that my camels were rolling around in it and turning themselves black, which makes them very hard to shear. It may be a bit premature to try igniting this. After all, the gas has to rise to the top of the cylinder, go round the corner here. Oh, if you're wondering what that is, you undo that and you suck a flame down there, and the idea of that is that the flame clears this out. So when soot gets in there and blocks it up, you ignite it and start a process that I call flame cleaning. I use it on my other gasifier and it works like a charm. Alright, talking about flames, let's see whether this thick choking smoke that you see coming out of here is flammable. Woohoo! It's a bit early in the process at the moment. The gasifier is still rather cool, but as you can see, we've got us a flare. It's got a little bit of blue in it, but it seems to be mostly orange. It's a pretty small flare at the moment, but it will start to grow. Well, at least I hope it will, as I haven't actually checked any of these welded joints. There could be leaks all around there, so in the near future I'll need to reverse that blower and pressurise the system a little bit, then check all around with soapy water, as it could be sucking air in right now, which, well, as we all know, can be a little bit dangerous. That's why I've got the anti-explode technology in here that I borrowed from the kitchen, although I'm not so sure I want to take that out and use it in the kitchen anymore. One of the, there we go. It's interesting, the colour of the flare. Other times when I test this it's blue, completely blue. Other times it's orange. Other times it's sort of like this, where it's sort of orangey, perhaps a little bit yellow maybe. Obviously some degree of cleaning and filtering is required to ensure best results. Now while it makes its mind up, I'll show you what I intend to feed with it. This little 1 kilowatt generator is very likely to be the donor engine for this project. It will be situated over here on the front end of the trolley. Unfortunately it blew up last week. I was using it, and shortly after I started it, it went knocker, 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 bang, boom, crash. And well, that's all she wrote. It don't go no more, but I think I can fix it. Next to it is a 9 kilogram LPG cylinder. I'm going to modify this so it works exactly the same way as the fuel dryer for the wood gasifier. It won't be drying charcoal, but it will be drying wood instead, thereby serving as a muffler for this engine, as well as a gas cooling system. The cool gas coming from the engine will be fed back into here. So there'll be a T-piece here. You light it that way, and the T-piece will feed gas in at an angle which goes around there. What it does is it cools the reaction, makes this quite a lot cooler, and actually extracts energy from the CO2 in the engine's exhaust, thereby improving the efficiency and lifespan of the system. As I think it's well known that charcoal gasifiers love to burn out their noozles. So I want to improve on that. That's why I've made it removable, so I can try different sizes and configurations. But so far, you know, with all the little problems that are inherent in these sorts of things, I'm actually quite impressed. I'm getting quite a lot of energy here from basically a waste product from wood gasification. So I'd like to think that once I put the rest of the cooling and filtering systems in, that the engine will enjoy the gassy goodness being offered by my Charlek. Let me blow out the flame here. Yep, thick, choking clouds of smoke. Not. It can't be too bad if it's not actually producing visible smoke. It's interesting, the flame's changing colour again. It's developing a bit of a reddish hue along with blue, and of course the ever-present orange. So as time passes, it will change to all sorts of different colours, perhaps even green, who knows. It's quite amazing. I don't know whether this has been done before, whether someone has tried to run a charcoal gasifier on throwaways from a wood gasifier. Maybe someone has done it, but they haven't got round to putting it up on the tube. Oh, talking of tubes, should there be a pressure burst in here because of Dalek flatulence, this spring-loaded non-return valve, I'm hoping, will let the pressure go. It's got a spring in it, and that's keeping it closed at the moment, but of course the pressure in here will become quite positive should there be a flashback of any kind in this, which I'm hoping will bust out through there. By all means, I could put another one right there, thereby giving a double protection quality to the gasifier. Now, talking of heat, which we're not, but let's talk about it. Here's the output from the gasifier. It's dead cold. Feels room temperature cold. Let's feel the body of the gasifier. Dead cold. The nozzle port. Okay, that feels about body temperature. That will be conducted heat as opposed to radiated. After all, the steel pipe runs inside right to the hot spot. check underneath where all ash will be collecting. Dead cold. That's amazing. As I'm sure you can see, this project's got a wee way to go yet. Got some experiments to do to make sure I can make this actually work properly. But if it doesn't work for an engine, I'd like to think that this gas can be fed into a barbecue or some other gas appliance and used for water heating, cooking and so on. Talking of which, notice how the flame has gone pretty rich yellowish. It likes to change colour during a burn. I don't know why. I've got a lot to learn about this, but even as it is, that's still a lot cleaner than any FEMA gasifier will ever be, considering it's not yet filtered. And of course, I know how to wreck an engine with a FEMA gasifier. I've been there and I've made that mistake. Let's see whether the gas is flammable or visible now. No, I don't believe I can see that. But I can sure see it burning. Okay, fellas and fella S's, this is a bit of a ramble video, I guess you would say. Oh, by the way, this workspace is something I've newly built. It's all done in steel, 2" by 2" heavy grade steel, all welded with my homemade welding plant over there. Heavy floor, 2" by 10, underneath it, heavy steel 4" square, everything welded. And this shipping container is at the heart of it. It's a 20-foot long shipping container with everything welded to it. So each of those A-frame trusses is 26 feet long. I made those separately, then lifted them into place. And they are rather heavy at 300 odd pounds each. But they are solid. They ain't gonna give up on me anytime soon. Around the corner is where I got all my firewood stored and fuel for the wood gasifier. Down here is a little experiment I've been working on recently. It's a rocket stove. I call it the blunderbuss because of the bit on the end of it. It works. It's not perfect, but it works. I've been able to cook me a few feeds on that. I figure that will be coming in handy as the weather gets colder, as well as firewood for heating the house. Once that's cleared out, that's when I'm going to put the big stainless steel gasifier in there, so as I can dedicate the workspace to it. And of course, in the container is the good stuff. My assortment of junk, spare fuel for the gasifier, which will eventually become charcoal to run this gasifier. It's kind of ironic really, to make the fuel for this I end up having to put up with all the electricity that my other gasifier creates as a byproduct. Right, just a little supplement to the video here. This has been going for a good half hour. Flame is still, it's verging on yellow. Definitely a pretty deep orange. It's not the sort of colour I'd like to be feeding into a system, but I think I'll get away with it. The gasifier has become quite hot now, so I guess that's to be expected considering the glowing mass that's going on inside it. The outfeed from the gasifier, yeah, that's hot-ish, somewhere between warm-ish and hot-ish. Going down the feed By the time I get here it's dead cold, so that's good news. The cooling system, if you can call it that, is having some effect. So the Cyclone feed point, yep, dead cold. The outlet from the Cyclone, yep, absolutely room temperature. And the gas feed out to the flame, also cold. The blower's been going for a long time, so it's actually quite warm, as the motor in there is obviously making some heat. But the gas it's pumping is cold. Let's get the lighter here and I can do a blowout test. There must be some particles in it, but I just can't see them. The camera doesn't seem to be able to see them either. They're not inhale too much of this, as I'm allergic to being dead. There we go. Let the flame inhale it instead. Let's see, I reckon I could get nearly 1/4 of a horsepower out of that. But I'm sure the engine will suck on it hard enough to produce the full power. I'd like to think I can pull 2 horsepower out of this little gasifier without any trouble, and it would be nice to think that I can get at least an hour of engine runtime out of it if I fill it right up with charcoaline. Let's see if it's nice and hot down here where it was before. Nice and warm, yummy. Let's see, do I want to touch that? Yeah, it's pretty hot. It's nice and pleasantly warm actually. You could lean on that and it would warm you up on a cold day. I imagine though when I put an engine on it, it'll pull on this so hard, it'll get so hot that the smoke, the paint will burn off. Well, hopefully in the next week or two I'll be able to make up a couple of filters that will resemble this, but will be filled with pea stone instead, and then follow that up with one of these plastic pipe filters filled mostly with stainless steel, and the last 25% or so filled with camel hair, as I noticed camel hair makes a great filter. It turns the flame lovely blue, and blue is a good sort of colour, I reckon. Works on Smurfs and it works on engines. So fellas and fella S's, at first glance the second-hand charcoal system works. You can actually make more use out of that charcoal that you might be throwing away at present. Okie dokie, rant session terminated.